Hey there YouTube, Logan with Hideaway Homestead here, coming to you today with a video on char. And it'll be things like charcoal, biochar, stuff that I guess you could call big and small charcoal or big and small biochar. This video is going to be kind of long, so strap in for that. I want to remind everybody that we are having our big live stream for the relief in North Carolina, and that's going to be on Thursday of next week, which is going to be the 20th, and it'll be at 6 p.m. Central. So y'all please come by for that and show us some support. But without any further ado, let's get into charcoal, and biochar. So if you followed the channel for a while, you'll probably remember a video that I did a while back on sifting biochar rather than crushing it. And I still think this is the best method. So what I'm doing is I'm just passing this stuff from this bin to the wheelbarrow right now, which I'm going to get me some more bins lined up and get a better systemized deal going, because going back and forth here does take a little bit of time. And been using that shovel and that feed scoop to do a lot of this, and I've got my little boards here to set my sifters on. But what I've done is I've gone and made some more sifters, and this here really does help the process. So I've got my feed stock here, which is what I use to make these little sifters, and these are like 14 to like 16 inches by 6 inches wide. I got these from a place, a mill, because I had some stuff that I wanted to do with these, but then I also thought I'd make some char out of them. Now they're pretty green. I'm going to probably dry them, the rest of them that I've got, and any more that I get to do this, I'm going to let them dry really good, because a lot of the energy was wasted on getting these pieces dry in the fire. So I didn't get as much char as I wanted. So I'm going to be letting a lot of that dry, start putting it up. And it's really good feedstock though, which we've got plenty of feedstock, and but it is pretty convenient doing that, because if you can get it dry, it'll burn really hot, and it's a super easy way to make char. The smaller your feedstock you can get, the better. So if you could find something like somebody that either a cabinet shop or somebody that makes baseball bats or something, or even, you know, down to almost like wood shavings can be used for making char. But you know, you can use what you got. The closer you can get it, the better. I did have to go a ways for that stuff, but it was worth it, because I had some other stuff that I wanted to build with these. You can't make a whole lot of stuff out of little scraps like that, but there's, you know, some things you can. So anyway, let's get to the sifting process here. I've got this one right here that's got the 2x4 mesh in the bottom of it. That's 2x4 welded wire. And that just makes sure that if there's any big pieces that haven't been pyrolyzed, you know, that they don't go through. I can pick them out, sift them out. And then what goes through this, but then won't pass through the 1 inch, which is this one right here, is this stuff right here. These little charcoal pieces can be used for cooking. Of course, there's going to be some smaller pieces in here, but what I'm sifting for is to make sure that instead of saying all the pieces are going to be this big, there's going to be nothing bigger than a 2x4 mesh, a 1 inch mesh, and inch or 1 inch by 1/2 inch mesh, or a 1/4 inch mesh. So I go through and I'm sifting these through, and so I've got big stuff to cook with or to use for fire or whatever, or probably even to use in the animal pens. And then I've got this right here, which is what I'm calling the big char. You know, it's small stuff, but it's still, you know, got some large-ish chunks in it. This is probably, if you're familiar with biochar and terra preta, this is probably somewhere around the size this, and this that they used in making terra preta. So you ain't got to have it just perfect like the stuff that you'd buy in a bag from a large company. But anyway, we've got that, and then this slurry right here has got all the really small stuff. I'll show y'all here real quick. It's wet because of course I had to quench it, but you can see this is all the little tiny stuff, and this is the really good stuff. So let's talk about what I'm going to do with this. So this bigger stuff, like I said, I'm either going to use it to cook with, to burn with, or to, just amend the soil with the big stuff. This that's in the middle here, that's kind of smallish, I'm going to use it to make my soil amendments and my potting soil. Perfect for that. I mean, it's, got some big chunks in it, but it's also got a lot of little stuff. It'll mix real well with all the manures and topsoil, and maybe a little bit of mulch or something that I'm gonna put in there to make potting soil, or just topsoil for raised garden beds, our soil amendments. All can be used with that. Now this stuff right here, I'm gonna use in animal feeds, and I'm probably going to do, I'd say, some of this in the chicken feed, and then some of it I'm probably going to use to give to, like, say, black soldier fly larvae or something as we get into spring. We'll save a bunch of it up to do that, and earthworms and stuff like that, because it is so small. I want it to go through their systems. And all these buckets, I'm using these buckets because these are normally my water buckets, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use them to carry feed. I will give some water to, like, the hogs and everything that's like some charcoal water to maybe help with some deworming and stuff like that. And so I'll get a use out of that. So that's pretty much all the uses I'm going to get out of it. So I've got about 4 or 5 different uses there. Later on, I'm going to be using a lot of this stuff for, like, gray water and black water systems, like with flushable composting toilets. And especially with, like, the animal housing and stuff, really helps keep the smell down. But yeah, that's pretty much my little system right now. This right here took about 45 minutes to do, and it could really be done far more efficiently than what I did. I would say if you could build some big boxes that would fit over, say, like a wheelbarrow or over like a kiddie pool, and you had it in a system to where they were stacked on top of each other, and you had space in between them to where you could work the material and scoop the material out, that you would probably be able to do this far more efficiently than I did. But let's go and talk about the numbers. Even though this is not the most efficient way, and I had to go a little bit for the feedstock, I think y'all will be surprised at some of the numbers. So let's go and talk about that. All right, so this is going to be kind of a breakdown of how I did with the chicken eggs, and just showing y'all how much it costs to do it. And these are extremely conservative numbers. I mean, I put in a lot of factors. Like, for example, when I weighed the char, it is wet, so it's going to be a little bit heavier, but I just cut the weights in half, completely in half. And so I know it's going to be more than that because there isn't that much water. The char was still a little warm when I took it out, so I mean, I just put enough water in there to cool it off, and get it out of there. So I know that those numbers are conservative, and we're not going to be selling ourselves short on how much we're really saving. So let's just talk about some of the numbers here. Okay, so as far as in weight, for the small biochar of what I would buy on Amazon, I got about $18.75 worth of biochar from that little bit out there. The large biochar, which is all the stuff that I said I was going to be using for my soil amendments and for the potting soil and whatever else like that, got about $40 of that. And then the charcoal at about 50 cents a pound, which is, it's a lot of it's softwood, so you're not getting hardwood charcoal, which is going to be a higher dollar product. If you get, the higher dollar product, it's about $1 a pound, depending, on how much you buy. So I just cut that in half and said 50 cents, cut the weight in half, so that's all these are extremely low numbers. Total being $68.75. Okay, so for the truckload that I got of the feedstock, I should be able to make at least 4 of these loads. Probably more. So just let y'all know that this is, all conservative, and this is not for a biochar business. I've still got a lot of stuff to work out to be able to sell this and really make a profit. I'm gonna make some profit off of this stuff, but I'm not doing it as a business. So, you're gonna need to work out a whole lot more than what I'm talking about here. But I think even doing it the way that I did it, if it was a business, or we're selling it at a larger scale, I would probably still make some money on it. But there's so many things that can be done to make it more efficient and to cut costs. So if I get 4 loads out of that, 1 truckload, that's great. I'd probably get more though. The miles that I had to drive, I had to go like 40 miles to get it, but like I said, I was wanting those pieces too. So if you can find somebody that's closer, that's way better to do that, or even do it out of your own backyard. Once we get the mill up and running well, and selling lumber and making a lot of farm buildings and stuff, I'm gonna have a lot of pine slash, and I'm gonna be using that to make biochar. So it'll be right on site. It's going to be something that's going to be a byproduct, but there's so many waste streams out there that if you can find one that's fairly close, even if it's like an hour drive, it's still worth it to be able to get that feedstock for making char. So the miles in total, I put $1 per mile just to cover maintenance, gas, me driving, etc. So I think truck drivers make 50 to 60 cents a mile, something like that. I mean, I don't know, plus I think their maintenance and stuff. I'm not really familiar with that. So, I mean, you're getting, paid decent money to go and ride and pick it up. But, the closer you can get, the better. So, we got $80 in that. Labor, I figured up about 8 hours in total. So, 30 minutes to load up the truck is about what it took. If I'd have got there before the other guys that were getting their stuff, I wouldn't have had no time in loading, because they would have dumped it right into my truck for me. I had to pick out of bins. So 30 minutes on that, and then I don't count the time that it takes to burn, because it could take several hours. You just got to kind of check on the fire as you go. So you're thinking about a minute to check on a fire, and you can do it while you're doing something else. So I put in like an hour or 30 minutes for that, and for quenching and everything, and then the sifting would be somewhere around 6 hours or so at the most. Probably more like 4, but yeah, 8 being shooting kind of high. So $160, for $20 an hour. Which it's not skilled labor, so I figure that $20 is pretty good for something like that. So total cost would be around $240. That's if you're counting that's not what I have in it. So what I have in it is probably about maybe $20 in gas, because my truck's a gas guzzler. Maybe I've got that in it, and then if you count maintenance and everything, if you just counted the miles, let's just count the miles, so that way you're not abusing your vehicle and not getting paid for it. But say it costs you $80, really. We're gonna count our labor and everything, because I think it's really important to do that, to figure out whether or not you should just go and buy it. The value of the products is right at $275, because I'd be able to make 4 batches out of that at least. So you're looking at a profit of about $35. Like I said, that is not really a business model. This is showing you just like with the eggs. And something to remember when I made the egg video is that this money right here, as far as the labor goes, we're not going to count this, because you do have to buy gas and everything. But let's just say the labor, $160, or really $275. So take off the 80, you're at $195. So there is $195. Just so I remember it here. That's $195 that you didn't have to go out and earn and pay taxes on. So that's something that I always consider when I'm figuring this stuff out. Now, if you have uses for the char like I do, and you can use all of it, and you're going to use all of it, and you're only going to make what you're going to use, making biochar is 100% worth it. There's a lot of stuff that's not, And I think you can do it in certain ways that it's probably not worth your time. I think even once you sift it, if I took the extra time, like I could go out there right now and put it in bags. And I heard once you sift it and you put it in bags and you run over it with your car, it crushes a lot easier. So let's just say if I were to do that and then I had to sift some of it again and crush it again to get it all into that fine powder and really up the number, it may or may not be worth it. I don't know. Because you're going to get the highest return on your money doing the highest valued product. But considering all the things that I'm going to get into, and I don't want to have to go through all the crush it and everything, once I've figured out a way to do that, and if it is really easy to crush it with a bag, I'm probably going to test that out. I think that I may do that. But if it's not, then I don't want to have to go through all the extra work. But anyway, hopefully that was helpful to some of y'all if you're thinking about doing some biochar and really seeing what the numbers look like. Another thing to keep in mind, if you're making like, you're just clearing an area and you have to burn some slash, or you're cutting out old hedges or whatever it may be, picking up sticks in the yard, and you make just like a little cone pit in your yard and burn that and quench it and then use that stuff, that's great. And you probably won't have a lot of money in it and you won't have a lot of time. And you've got to do the work anyway, so why not get something out of it? So whether you're doing it that way or you're doing it more of like a small business scale, we're going to call it business because it's not really, but either way, you're going to get your money's worth for it. So hopefully that was helpful. If you did find it helpful, if you got any value out of it, please leave a like. And if you've got any questions or comments, you can drop those down below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already and you enjoy stuff like this, go ahead and subscribe. I drop a video like this every day. I appreciate all y'all watching, and we'll see you in the next one.